Hey, Inside SSL fans, we are back. It's episode 4. For how many weeks have we played? We played 4 weeks. 4 weeks, 4 episodes. We got one more week before the start of the playoffs.
Yes.
I am Han, joined as always, Mr. Meng here from Mercenaries, and today no in-studio guests, but we do have, as always, Mr. Trashman, Mr. Nearly Quadruple Double this weekend, Mr. Isaac Go. Say hello. What is that? U4. U4. Bringing back U4.
Shout out to U4.
Oh, it's a foreshadowing for next season, maybe.
Because it's week 4, he brought the U4 in. I don't know. I have no idea.
U4. Shout out to Moo, Dwayne, Andy.
Yes.
Who else?
Martin, Justin, all the...
Does Jen Ning count as U4?
Yeah.
Is he still playing basketball?
You're always in our heart, Jen Ning. Although you left us for arms.
And the Incredible Hulk competition. Anyway, going straight into it, we had great games this weekend. Yes. A bunch of close games, a lot of high intensity action. But we're gonna start with Advanced Pro versus Team Sunway, a matchup of two undefeated teams, and I think two of the best teams that we've seen as far as this season. And definitely, we knew it was going to be a hot matchup coming into it. They're both trying to maintain their undefeated record. Meng, tell us what happened.
So, from what I can remember, Advanced Pro started the game strong. First quarter, they had an 8-point lead. But then, second quarter, Coach Suresh went into the telephone booth outside. He took off his work clothes and then came out with the jersey of Team Sunway. Became that Superman for them, defending John Ng. And then with that, Team Sunway managed to narrow the lead to a 3-point deficit.
He's on the roster though, right? It's not like he just showed up out of the blue and just started playing.
It's not. But it was quite. He told me after the game that he had to check into the game to show his players how to defend, and then it started getting better and better. But then third quarter, Advanced Pro again started to pull away. They grabbed a lot of offensive rebounds in the third quarter. Even though Hansler Kwan was trying to score some points for them, but Advanced Pro managed to pull it out to 11-point lead. And then fourth quarter, Yo Jian-wen played solid the whole game defensively against Chin Tak Wei, and John Ng had his hands full, but he did well and tried to lead Sunway back into the game. But then the closest they got was just a 4-point gap, and then experience championship pedigree of Advanced Pro just took over and they just held out the game.
And again, we talk about Advanced Pro being champions, pedigree like you mentioned, but again, it's just guys that know the game of basketball. It's not like they're practicing all the time like Team Sunway, but they just have every player 1 to 15 knows how to play the game, and of course they have guys like Yao Long and Tek Wei and John Ng leading the way. That makes it a little bit easier, right? Isaac, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the game already felt like the finals. It was so intense. It felt like a bandwagon versus the Johan game. It was so intense. The game was going back and forth. The score was going back and forth. It was tied for the 1 minute, and the next minute Sunway take lead, and then the next minute Advanced Pro take lead, and then it goes back to tie again every single minute. So the intensity was there. I personally thought that Sunway was going to cause an upset. But after seeing Advanced Pro's performance, they are really just that unbeatable. They may look like they'll struggle in the first quarter, but the rest of the quarter they'll figure their crap out, and Yalong just puts up for 15 perfect free throws.
Yalong definitely their MVP this season.
I think so.
That's for sure, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
John will step up for Advanced Pro as well. If he can't do something in the paint, he has his hot hand shooting threes from outside. Yap Jun Yong, he'll switch plays with Yap Jun Yong. Yap Jun Yong will hold down the fort at the paint there and stuff like that. I thought for last season, Stallion's gonna cause an upset to Advanced Pro, but no, Advanced Pro still proves us wrong up to this season that they are unbeatable. They may be old, they may have weaker knees than Team Sunway, but they're taller, they're much more chemistry is there.
Yeah.
And I don't see them going down anytime soon.
Sounds like a prediction there. We're going to go into playoff predictions a little bit later, but yeah, that game back and forth the whole way, a lot of lead changes, maybe a foreshadowing of the finals as Isaac has here.
And if I can add something as well,
Sure.
right? They have a lot of players that know their roles, right? So that's also what makes it work. Like they have I think Yi Chi Ping checked into the game just to like face guard Kunwei the whole game. And then they have 3-point shooters. They know their roles. They play their roles, and
that's huge. Takes time to build that and kind of know your role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about a team we haven't talked about so much this season. A new team this year in SSL, which is Juggernauts. They started out a bit rough this season, going 0-3, I believe, or 0-2. Yeah. But we know what they're made of. They're made of really talented players, a lot of experienced players, state players, Maba Cup players. Let's talk a little bit about Juggernauts and their game this past weekend.
Yeah, so they came into the game as you said, Han. They came into the game 0-2, and they had something to prove. This was maybe a relatively easier game for them against a younger team, Atlas Ballers, but still a challenge. But Juggernauts just took control of the game. They took control of the game. Although Idham Khalid wasn't there, although Afifi wasn't there.
Their coach and captain Idham,
Their coach and captain Idham wasn't there. Afifi, their other key player, wasn't there as well. But they still managed to just come together, put pressure on Atlas Ballers, and they got a few transition baskets, and they won the game 87-62. So
yeah, great. Yeah, and you mentioned Afifi not being there when our team Bandwagon played them. Also, he wasn't there. He played a little bit towards the end, but and we ended up winning. But it just goes to show these guys have a lot of depth that maybe hasn't been seen yet, and so maybe they'll be a dangerous team come playoffs. Isaac, anything you can tell us about Juggernauts?
Yeah, for Juggernauts, I think this season they have been having some attendance problem, not having core players when they need the most. I think they're just lucky that Atlas Ballers is just a player much younger and a revamped team. They're not as core as last season, but still, nevertheless, Juggernauts show their fighting power, the fighting spirit, led by Akil with 18 points. Azmil Zakri, aka Jepun, he had a hot game.
Yeah, that was big for him. He's been really cold the first two games for them, so that's good for him to get his rhythm back.
Right. And in his past teams, he last season in the Knights, he didn't have that much playing time, that much minutes. But I think he already proved a point that if you play more minutes, let him get his time and his space, and where he wants to shoot, he can prove that he can contribute to the stats.
I mean, 22 points, 80% from 3-point range,
too
and
bad.
75% overall field goal percentage.
And you mentioned Isaac playing time. Let me ask you guys just a little bit off topic, but I want to ask you guys a little bit something about this. For a player like that who is capable of scoring or making an impact on the game, but he just has not been playing well the last couple games, whether it's because of matchups, whether because it's just bad games, and you have other players who can fill that role. Do you give him more time in order for him to adjust and try to get his groove back, or do you try to get the other guys who are on the bench ready to go, give them more minutes and get them going? What do you think?
I feel like for a coach, it's always a game time decision. So if you're not performing in that game itself, especially, then you've got to be able to give way to the other players that are ready to go, they're hotter, that were performing well in the game itself. As we said, Japun, we know the caliber of player that Japun is. He's played in SSL for a couple of seasons already, and he's done well to be fair the previous seasons. But as you said, he's not been playing well the first two games. Credit to him on not looking back on the past two games and just starting this game anew. And getting the
there's never a shot that he hasn't seen that he's not going to take. So, but Isaac, what do you think of that?
I think it's very subjective, and it depends. Like if your guy is 0 for 20, I will sit him down. 0 for 20 is just too much. But like,
what if it's 0 for 8?
I would tell him to do something like off-ball movement and stuff like that. and from the end, you don't have to shoot to get your momentum. You can do like some off ball movement. You get some assists. That also is a way to get your confidence back up, and then from there you just start shooting again.
Yeah.
Like that. I would still play him if he's a core piece.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's that player needs to figure out a way to get involved in the game, even if it's not scoring.
Yeah.
And then that gives the coach no reason to take him out.
Yeah.
Add more on defense, rebounding.
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's it on Juggernauts. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about XUM, the remaining undefeated team. Sorry, one of two remaining undefeated teams, I believe. XUM
Right now,
and,
yes.
yeah,
Advanced Pro, obviously Team Sunway.
And they're also the first to 4 victories undefeated as well this season. Yep. So after beating my bandwagon in a tough game, we thought we had them. We had them outnumbered. We had a game plan. We didn't quite execute well, but hats off to them. They had a great game. Led by Irfan and Ming Lip as well. Mm-hmm. But the core of this team, pun intended, is their coach, Coach Core, who's been at the helm for this team for quite some time. He's the heart and soul of this team, whether it comes from setting the plays or the style of play, and alongside Coach Wayne as well, who's been there from the beginning. They have pieces that move in and out, even though they have familiar players season to season. Yeah. But it's always about Coach Core. So we want to talk a little bit about him, this past game, and also their season so far.
Yeah, he from what I've heard from the players at XUM and stuff. Coach Cole works as a lawyer in the day, and then at night his passion takes over, and then he's the basketball coach.
He lays down the law at
exactly.
night, right?
Exactly. He's the basketball coach for UM and XUM. These two are teams that are that comprise mainly of UM alumni, current players and alumni. So he's 50 already, but he's been involved in the basketball scenes for a long time, and you can tell with how he's stayed in shape and stuff. I've heard he's played like 4 games in one day on the weekend, and like I can't even move after one game.
Like one quarter.
Yeah, I can't even move after one game, and he's playing in like 4 games a night, a day.
Yeah.
So
he's again at his age and his experience level, he's still being able to keep up with guys up and down the court. It's not like he's just there on the court, right? And on top of that, he's managing the game. He's calling the plays. He's calling the defense. He's got a full-time job the whole time he's there on the court.
Yeah, I know, right? And you guys will know it best because you guys just played him. And for me, I think he runs the XUM play the best. Like
gets his play.
Yeah, the reads he gets of that, no other player can get.
Yeah, and we're talking about the XUM inbounds play, the cross screens that you get with the bigs, and a lot of the actions from there, which we'll be going into next week. We have a little breakdown of that play as well, so stay tuned for that. Isaac, what do you know about Coach Core and XUM, their whole culture?
I think you guys mentioned everything already. He has a full-time job, but he's still playing. And speaking of that, XUM have not had a bye yet for 3 weeks already. They've been playing like multiple. Not only in SSL, they've been playing like in the Summit League and stuff like that. So they have multiple tournaments all over, and still managed to squeeze time to come and be undefeated 4-0 coming into this league.
They're making us look bad.
Right, and that takes a lot of passion, I would say, because like who would play so much in that one whole month, right? I mean, I understand that they are already committed, probably they paid that entrance fee and stuff like that, but to be able to play and work at the same time, that's gotta be tiring. We had our mini little scrimmage back in Lanka. We have, for one day, we died, like so bad.
Yeah, we played for about an hour and a half, and we're like, okay, we're not gonna play for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, like I really want to be able to catch up. My team when I'm there.
When you're 50.
Right, man, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like you mentioned, like not just him, but the whole team having so many back-to-back, so many commitments. It shows also that their culture, their team culture must be good because they enjoy playing with each other. You're not going to show up to all these tournaments and want to continue playing if you're not enjoying the time that you're spending. Which again, at the end of the day, that's what we're here doing. None of us are pros. We're trying to give you the pro experience, but we're just here to have fun, right?
Exactly,
And I think Coach Core has been critical in creating that atmosphere for them.
From what I've heard, like he starts as soon as the player gets into the UM team. The UM team doesn't just comprise of the starting 12 that will represent them at the Masum games or stuff like that. Is everyone is welcome inside. You see the ex-UM team that's competing in SSL right now actually have some current students of UM. The Belgian guy Simon.
Okay, he's a student. Okay.
Yeah, he's a exchange student. I've heard. And then there's another Indonesian guy, Muhammad Yusof, I think, that's just playing for that as well because they can't play for the UM team. So it's just a whole community, whole family. Their environment that there is there.
Right. I was checking some of the comments on Facebook. If you guys are watching us, let us know if you guys know Coach Core or the ex-UM guys. Anything, any thoughts you have on that. Maybe we'll try to get him or Coach Wayne next week to kind of talk a little bit more about that. Again, they are undefeated. Either they or Advanced Pro likely will take the number 1 seed. We're waiting on one more Advanced Pro game.
Tap it out.
Yep.
Tap it out as 3-0 as well.
Oh, that's right. Tap it out 3-0 as well. My fault. Yeah, actually, that's a great segue. Let's take a look now at the scores from this past weekend and who won and who lost. AVA lost to Tap It Out, and like you mentioned, they Tap It Out is now perfect in Group C. Yes. Mercenaries take down the ISKL Panthers. That was a great game. You were in that. Maybe real quickly, you want to talk about that?
Very close game. We Mercenaries were missing some people today, but ISKL
always starts
Panthers,
with the excuses, but
no excuses. But ISKL Panthers played really well. They're a young team. They gave us a run for our money. But at the end of the day, I think Benjamin just took over. He has the experience on how to manage the game and see it out. And, great game by the Panthers. I thought the best showing that they've had all season long. They just keep getting better and better. Justin Hahn fouled on a 3-point attempt at the buzzer to tie the game. I was telling the refs, what a bad call.
May have been, but I liked it for the drama. Yeah. Either way, Justin Hahn goes to the line to shoot 3 to tie the game. Ends up missing his first and second. Hits the third, but ball game. So. It doesn't come down to the last play, but I thought overall, they played really well, and you guys squeaked out the victory.
These are things that they will learn as they participate in more of these games. They'll learn how to keep their nerves, trying to shoot the free throws and stuff like that.
Yep. Also, Stuffy X defeated the Thunders, Young Thunder by 80 points behind JJ with 40 of his own and 13 rebounds, 4 steals.
Wait, so it's not just 4 steals. I'm gonna give him 1 more steal. Because he stole the pass that would have gotten Isaac a triple-double.
So Isaac finishes with 9 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists, I believe. And they were trying to get him that one last point. And between JJ stealing a pass to go to him and a couple weird backcourt calls right at the end, and they were still pressuring you. I don't think they wanted you to get the triple-double.
Yeah, I have no idea why. They stole my JJ stole my glory. Yeah, and then he's trying to put on a fake smile at the end of the interview. Like, no, I didn't know he was gonna get it.
Everyone knew. They cheered for you. Your huddle was 1, 2, 3 Isaac at the end. So I think everyone knew. Also,
exactly. So we had
everyone knew.
JJ should know, right? And then he's trying to put on a fake smile. No, I didn't know. That was the huddle for it.
JJ, you owe him. Also, 2 steals away from a quadruple double, Isaac. That's no joke. That's legit. I mean, granted, you guys destroyed them by 80, but still kind of hard to do. So.
I want to talk a little bit about the Young Thunder. I'm not sure what actually happened to them. They put up 70 points against Advanced Pro. I mean, and they didn't back down from PhD as well. But after their third game against Sunway and 4th game against us, they just kind of slacked down a bit. They put up. The one thing that surprised me is I think we won. The reason why we won is because we had more fighting spirit than them. They kind of gave up at second quarter already. True, they don't have their core players like RG or some other guys, right? But I don't see like the fighting spirit there. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame for such a young team. That's the stuff they need to develop.
Right.
They need to maintain that attitude. But yeah, a loss like Harjit is big for them, being so young and not knowing.
Be the excuse.
Yeah, but being so young, they need to have sort of someone to lean on, right? Whereas more experienced teams, maybe they're like, okay, we can kind of pick up the pieces. So maybe that was it. But at the end of the day, I think you guys were just more hungry and wanted to dominate them. So. Okay, now we move really quickly to the standings. As you can see here, here are the standings. At the top of each group is Advanced Pro.
Yep.
At the top of Group A, Group B is topped by XUM, and then Group C
A is XUM.
Group A is XUM. Group B is
Advanced Pro.
and Group C is
C,
Tap It Out.
yeah, Group C is Tap It Out, yeah.
All undefeated. Again, one more game for Tap It Out as well as Advanced Pro.
Yep.
And a few more teams next week will finish off their season as well. And then we will be going into the playoffs after that. Let's take a look at the power rankings real quick here. As we pull it up, I think at the top of the power rankings is XUM. Sorry, XUM's 4-0, Advanced Pro 3-0. Merit Farm stays at number 3 at 2-1. They also have one more game to play.
Yes.
I believe that's against XUM, so that would be interesting. No, it's against.
They played with XUM.
Yeah,
it's
they played against XUM.
who they
They
play?
lost. So I think it's against.
Only there's an app for that.
If only there was an
If
app.
only there was an
Good
app
question.
for that.
I think
As-
they play.
Let's see who's faster, Meng's Brain or this
Stuffy
app?
Eggs?
Juggernauts.
Juggernauts. Merit Farm versus Juggernauts. So,
Juggernauts.
yeah, that will be interesting. And then the top of the last group is Tap It Out as well. Yeah. So, what do you guys think of the power rankings here?
I think
this
as of week 4 now, the power rankings kind of resemble the
playoff
league standings,
seeding.
the league standings right now, right? Because they've played so many games. As we know, we've seen XUM dominate, Advanced Pro dominate, Tap It Out dominate. I think the only surprise is Merit Farm still being in the top 4, but they have played a few weeks without some of their key players. James has not been there for quite a few weeks. I know Jian wasn't there for 1 or 2 weeks. They if they get their full team, they're gonna dominate in the playoffs, man.
Yeah.
And then Stuffy X rising to 6, I think biggest rises for the week after the 80-point game, so
Yeah.
they deserve that.
Yeah.
And then others just kind of fall into place.
Yeah.
Fall into
Yeah.
place,
I think you're right. And we're starting to see who are the cream of the crop. And one thing I want to note, and not just because I'm in their group, but 2 of the top 4 teams are from that group of death with XUM, Merit Farm, Bandwagon. Like we said, Juggernaut's going to come up there. We're going to talk after this about the playoffs and how we seed it. But yeah, just from, again, this power rankings is more of a subjective, artsy kind of way to do things. I think yeah, we're seeing a lot of these teams kind of separate themselves as the season goes on. Isaac, anything on the power rankings before going to playoffs?
Not really. I think I kind of agree with where all the teams are in the ranking right now. Yeah. I think Team Sunway could be a little bit more higher if they were in a different group and stuff like that. I just see so much potential in them.
I agree, man. I agree.
Even if they don't have a game plan, their individual talents and stuff like that, they're so young and so fast, and they're daring. They dare to take those kind of shots. They dare to go up 2 against 1. They dare to go up, post up against Jonathan and stuff like that. So I really see a lot of potential with them.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, with that prediction, as you know, you mentioned before, maybe a Sunway Advanced Pro matchup late into the playoffs. We're going to talk a little bit now about the playoff format that we're introducing this season for SSL. First time we're doing it this way. We're doing sort of a round of 16, which actually ends up being a round of 15 because that's the number of teams that we have this season. A round of 15 playoff format. What is going to happen is that we are going to seed each team based on their record and where they finish standings-wise within the group.
Yep.
Okay,
That's true.
so after the last games next week, again, we got a handful of games left to play next week. We will be seeding the teams based on how they finish within the group first. That means we will look at win-loss, which creates the number of
Point
points that you'll
difference,
have. Yep. And then in the case of any ties within the group, the tiebreaker will first be head-to-head. And then after that, let's say there's a three-way tie, then we're looking at point differentials between the teams that are playing that are tied. So let's say there's 3 teams tied. It's not point differentials overall that they've accumulated, but within those 3 teams, those
The 3
matchups,
games, right?
3 games,
Three
that's right,
games,
or it would be 4 games, whatever those matchups are, right? So once we've done that, we will have the group standings. And then from there, we will pull out the number 1 seed from each group, number 2 seed, number 3, and number 4, number 5 seed, right? All the number 1 seeds will then be ranked from 1 to 3. Okay, and that we will be doing that by taking the point differential.
The overall point differential.
Overall point differential,
Okay.
right? At this point, because they would not have played each other, so it's overall point differential, right? So the number 1 seeds, out of the number 1 seeds, the top point differential will then take the overall number 1 seed.
Yep.
Number 2 will be next, number 3, etc. And we go down the list that way. So the number 2 seeds will then be placed in 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
In that same
that,
order.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then from there we fill out the bracket, and we have a single elimination going from there. Let's take a look. I think we have also a what it would look like today.
Yeah. So
what
just to
the
make
matchups
make things clear, a little bit clearer for you guys. So right now, I think Advanced Pro will take the top spot.
If the playoffs start today, again, we got
Exactly.
one more game. We got head-to-heads, all that stuff to figure out. If we're just looking at it today,
So Advanced Pro will take the top spot. They're undefeated and they have the most point differential between games, 74 I think. Then Tap It Out will take the second spot with 72 points, and then XUM will be in third with 66 points. So that will be all the first places in the 3 groups, right? And then the 3 second places in the groups will be Stuffy, Merit Farm, and Mercenaries, and they will be ranked 4 to 6. And in 4th place, it will be Stuffy X with 104 points point differential. It will be Merit Farm with 63 and Mercenaries with negative 4.
yeah. So do we have the matchups on screen, Emmanuel?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we look here, we can see the matchups. If it starts today, Advanced Pro would have the bye. Bandwagon will be playing against KL Twin Towers at 8 and 9. Sunway will be playing the IceKL Panthers.
Oh yeah, Sunway will be in 4th because they played Stuffy head to head.
Yep.
Sunway wins Stuffy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay.
So
okay.
and then
Apologies.
Merit Farm will be playing PhD. Tap It Out will be playing the Young
Young
Thunder. Stuffy X will be playing against Juggernaut. XUM would be playing Atlas Ballers, and Mercenaries will be playing AVA. Again, that's how it would look if it shook out today. Whoa, anything pop out to you guys as far as matchups there that would be interesting?
Mercenaries taking on XUM in the second round. That will be.
Oh, in the second round already.
That'll be
Already in the
interesting.
second round. Not even talking about
I mean,
the.
Mercs versus AVA will be interesting because we actually play them next week. So
It'll be back to back.
if this actually holds out as the actual standings going into the playoffs, we'll have a second game versus
But
AVA.
you still said in the second round you'd be playing XUM. So AVA, take note.
I'm
Mang is
hoping,
saying
but-
that Mercenaries is gonna just destroy AVA, and
I'm not saying we'll destroy.
not even considering it. Isaac, any thoughts? So right now, Stuffy X, your team could potentially be matched up against Juggernaut, who we said might be poised for a late playoff push. What do you think about that matchup?
If we go up against Juggernauts, I think we have the confidence enough to beat them, right? Yeah. I wouldn't have to worry because I think they pretty much haven't figured out their attendance problem yet issues. So in courtesy of Ming, we're gonna move up and Young Thunders will cause an upset to type it out, and we're gonna have a rematch of Thunders against Stuffy. We're gonna have another blowout, and it will move up again.
And you're gonna get your quadruple double.
This time.
All right, real quick then, who are your dark horses for the playoffs? Who do you think is gonna go further than you thought at the beginning of the season? Who's gonna be the surprise team now that we've seen the rankings? Who's gonna cause an upset?
If you said beginning of the season, I want to say Sunway. We didn't know what the team was going to be like playing in SSL, playing against big men, big grown adults. But I mean, like right now, like at the start of the season, they're dark horses. But like right now, they're like front runners.
They're the shining horses. Dark horse, I would say Mercenaries. Mercenaries is strong.
Stuffy X is
Stuffy X is strong if we get our shit together.
I mean, you guys scored 80 points, won the game by 80 points, and you're missing Iggy, another key player from your team. So and Ghazi as well.
Oh yeah.
And Ghazi as well.
He's coaching the other side.
Exactly, two very key players.
Oh, that's why they won. He was coaching the other side. Okay. I like both those picks as dark horses. I like whoever ends up at 9. Actually, right now I know it's Bandwagon versus Twin Towers at 9, and Twin Towers is the lower seed, which means that I'm assuming we're going to lose. We're not going to lose. But I don't think this will stay either. I think 8 and 9, whatever that ends up being, 7, 8, 9, actually 6 through 10 are all quite tight. So I think, even though those guys are going to be seated lower, whoever, it's prime for an upset either way.
Yeah. So I don't know, like every team, just give it your all in your last game. It might affect the standings a lot, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap it out, we want to also make one announcement. That being the prize winner for our week 3.
Week 3/4
Week
giveaway.
3/4 giveaway, which is again for another 100 ringgit leaning voucher. And that was for our questionnaire online on live stream. This was we actually had a bunch of responses. He was the first one to respond, and it was about yours truly, or his truly, Meng. What was the first season that you joined SSL?
Yes, so I'll give you the official answer now. It was season 1. I joined in the first season and got to know Han and Dre and Ikram and everyone that's in the league.
And five years later, you're sitting here.
Yes, and in season 1, fun fact was Mercenaries as well was the team that I joined, and I tried to bring it back this season. So yeah, I mean, that's the answer for you.
The return of the Mercenaries and Meng. So congratulations, Brian Leo will be in touch as far as your prize. We're going to have also continuing prizes as we go along. Also, a little bit of a teaser for you guys. We've done this before last season, but we're also going to be making some announcements on the All-Star game, voting for All-Star, captains for All-Star. We're going to be announcing a lot of that stuff next week, so stay tuned. Make sure you participate to vote and also figure out who's going to be playing. And then we also have a bracket challenge coming up for the playoffs, where you can predict and give your prediction on who's going to win. Best bracket will also get a prize from Bauerfein. All of that coming up. By next week, we'll have the announcements for that.
Exactly, yes.
Yep. Any last thoughts, guys, before we wrap up here? Isaac?
No, I'm good. I'm just excited to go to the next round, hopefully.
Are you guys done? Have you played 4 games?
No, our next game is going to be our toughest one against Advanced Pro.
Ooh, enjoy that. And Meng?
We still have no answer for whatever's going to happen.
Meng, you guys have one more game.
Mercs take on AVA.
That's right.
Yeah, Mercs take on AVA. So.
And AVA, they're not even worried about you.
Don't say that.
Come for him. Go for his knees.
Our hope, go for his knees.
Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week on Inside SSL. That is week 4 for Meng and Isaac. I'm Han. Please, again, if you haven't yet, download the Huddle app. It'll really help us and also help you follow up all the updates. Again, you can always catch the games live on StatSports League on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For now, we are out.